Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of All Queued Up, your review podcast tied to streaming services like Disney Plus, HBO Max, Prime Video, etc., etc. I'm your host Greg Dietz. With me always is Maya Don Fisher. How's your week been?
Pretty fucking fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this past weekend there was the regional convention RobCon. It's been going on in this area since the late '80s, I guess. I'm not sure when. Don't know much about the history of it. It's just always been hosted in either Johnson City, Bristol, or Kingsport, and this year it was held in Abingdon, which is just a few minutes up the road. They call the area the Tri-Cities area. So it's northeastern Tennessee, southwest Virginia, right on the border kind of thing. And this year they had it in Abingdon, and I was able to work with a gaming store that just opened up within the past year in Abingdon called Wolf Den Games. I worked with them and was able to host a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition one shot at the convention for them in their gaming room on Sunday afternoon, and it was awesome.
Oh.
Had an absolute blast. Met some cool new people, didn't have any awkward occurrences that I was worried about.
It's good.
Yeah, so it was damn near a perfect day when it came to that. But yeah, had a blast. I took a few things out of the one shot and shortened it down to make sure it could be completed in under. Try to complete it in about 3 hours time. I had a 3.5 hour block scheduled. I ran it in 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. And I tell you, man, as a DM, it's satisfying when you have a very climactic finish. One of not the final big bad evil guy, but the sub boss, if you will, was pretty powerful in its own right, and it took the paladin down to 1 hit point. And when they tried to do a short rest to spend some hit die to get some hit points back, they were in a location where that wouldn't work. Only magical healing would work. And they're like, uh-oh. And then the very next thing, I had to condense it down because we only had about 15 minutes left. I was like, look, to get back to the material plane, the big bad's in the cave. And instead of having it go through a whole system, I was just like, for time's sake, we're going to say right in the cave. So if you want to take a rest, I'll let you have a rest now. So the paladin spent 3 hit die, but only was able to get 20 hit points back because it was a short rest and not a long rest.
Yeah.
The paladin went down in the fight with the big bad.
Sure.
Now, the paladin dealt some major damage. The final boss had 69 hit points. The paladin had 28. So the paladin goes in, about 75% strength and did some major smiting damage. The ranger did some pretty good damage. The bard was using a wand of magic missiles, and magic missile always hits. Yeah. But the paladin goes down to 0 hit points and is actually on the 3rd saving throw on their death saving throws. It's like live or die, and the bard makes the final attack that kills the big bad. And I was like, with the final blow, and as soon as I said that, the table just erupts in cheers and they're high-fiving each other. And I was like, oh, that is so fucking satisfying. It was great. It was great. And I'll let them each keep them. I painted some miniatures up to take with me so they could use at the table. And I let them keep the miniatures that they used during the adventure, which was a cool little token, I guess. But yeah, that and just our normal regular D&D sessions this week, and just it's been a damn good week. How about you?
It's been hot as fuck over here.
Yeah, it has.
I think it started on. I mean, it was hot Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because like the biggest issue with the job I have right now is that the AC doesn't work very well, and it's in a steel basically it's built out of plywood and steel. Like it's just a small office with a garage to the side, and
it's like a hot box.
Sort of, yeah. And so because the AC just doesn't work very well, like our boss was like, "Oh man, this thing used to like make it a fucking fridge in here," and I'm just like, "Yeah, it doesn't now. I don't know what to tell you." So it was real fucking bad Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Friday wasn't so bad. Saturday was kind of rough, and then Sunday was really, really tough. Like I get out of there at 3:30 in the afternoon, and I was counting the minutes because it was just so hot. And I remember him walking around being like, "Oh, well, I don't know why it's so hot in here. I don't understand." I'm like, dude, because the dude's 75 years old, and he's just an old fucking guy that just doesn't get things. So, which is why I'm looking for another job. But yeah. Anywho, so then the last 4 days, my apartment, as I'm sure I've said this on the podcast before, it doesn't really conduct AC very well, especially upstairs to downstairs. Plus heat rises. So my room's been real bad. Like right now it's 101 outside and my room is real warm. Not that warm. Like, I don't know if you guys can hear the fan that's on me, but it's on 1. It's on the lowest setting because I don't want to blow out the speaker, but it's warm in here. And then on top of that, like, the downstairs doesn't like it's cool, but not like that cool. So my living room's been like, if it's 115 outside, it's maybe 85 in my living room, just because it's just too hot outside. It cannot keep up.
Ugh.
And like PG&E and SMUD, the two big power companies that we have here, they've been sending out emails telling people to turn off their AC in the middle of the day to save energy. It's like,
fuck you.
Exactly. Exactly. They've been doing rolling brownouts and shit. It's so bad.
I would do a rolling brownout on the CEO's face.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. But yeah, so that's been the fucking unbelievably awful heat wave in California. Well, Central California, give or take. I think it went in Nevada too, but dude, it was rough. So Tuesday, on that note, Tuesday and Wednesday were the hottest days of the week. No, I'm sorry, Monday and Tuesday were the hottest days. Both hit like 115, 116, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I know when we were playing Tuesday, you said it was, and this was like 10 p.m. my time. You said it was still like 106 outside your time.
Yes.
At like 7 p.m.
Yeah. And I knew that I was playing D&D at 6 p.m. my time. And I knew it was going to be hot in here. So I didn't go downstairs at all that day. I stayed in my room, got acclimated to the heat a little bit better. And then I went down. I had a bag of frozen frozen fruit. And I was like, I'll just bring that frozen bag upstairs in a bowl. No big deal. Not only did it thaw out my frozen fruit, the fruit on top became room temperature.
That's not surprising at all.
So I keep looking at my camera. I know I have it off. There's a reason behind that. Like, for the people who watch the YouTube version of the show, I don't have my camera right now because it makes me look super, super, super dark. My spotlight that I have is broken. So I need to either fix it or just try to get a new one later. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, but yeah, the D&D night that we had on Tuesday was fucking awesome.
So funny. So much fun.
Yeah, it was, long story short, we had 6 people prior. Last night, 3 of those people had to leave. And so it was just, the 3 that, like, because those 3 live in a house on their own. And so they had to stop playing. And then there was me, our buddy Andy, and Mark, and then his son, Zach. And we not only advanced the story, but we got to a point where we could actually, like, have a little bit of fun in the fucking in the tavern. And dude, I was cracking up. Plus, Zach's son with the fucking testicles. Like, holy shit, where did he get that?
Why does it smell this way?
Oh, so funny. So goddamn funny. But no, that was a lot of fun. And then
I certainly hope that none of those 3 are going to ever listen to this episode.
No.
I wouldn't figure they would.
No. If I was worried about it, I wouldn't have said a word.
True. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
And we finished at like 10 after midnight, and that was only half an hour later than what we normally had been starting. So no more staying up till 3 a.m. for me.
So this entire group that Maya's DMing right now all live in California. Because of that, a lot of them didn't get home and ready to play until like 9 p.m. Pacific time, which is midnight for Maya. So we wouldn't get started until like 11:30 midnight for you, and then you'd be going to bed at fucking 3 a.m, and it was just rough.
I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm excited for next Tuesday. Like shit's amazing right now with that. But and then the rest of like yesterday is just I was downstairs the whole day because it was still fucking hot as balls outside. Luckily, Friday is the last day of the intense heat. Like Friday's supposed to be 108, 109. And then Saturday is going to be like 96, 97. And then every day after that for the foreseeable future, it'll just keep going down. It'll be in the 80s or like below 80.
That's good.
Yeah. The big concern I have, though, is that my mom, her back hurts so bad that there's only like a couple places in the house that she can comfortably sit, and one of those is her bed. But because of the situation at hand, she can't go upstairs, so she has to sit downstairs to stay cool, and that the chair that she sits in downstairs just hurts her back. So
oh, that sucks.
when it starts to cool down, it'll be so much nicer for her, and I cannot wait because right now she is grumpy. So, and then today I'm going to run a bunch of errands in the fucking heat because I need to do my, typical shit for my parents that I do, which if you're listening to this podcast and you work for a government agency, I would kindly ask you to go fuck yourself. If you've never attempted to make things easier on people who are in need. This headache is unreal. I hate it so much. But anyway, that's besides the point. I almost forgot what we were doing for like half a second. I'm not even lying to you. All right, so it's a review podcast. We have 3 shows we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about She-Hulk Attorney at Law episode 4, House of Dragon episode 3, and the Rings of Power episode 1 and 2. We're going to start with the Rings of Power episode 1 and 2, which takes place like a couple thousand years before Fellowship of the Ring. A couple thousand years before The Hobbit, I believe.
Yeah, the premise here that I have pulled up says set thousands of years before the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Thousands.
The series is based on author j.r.r. Tolkien's History of Middle Earth. It begins during a time of relative peace and covers all the major events of Middle Earth's Second Age, the forging of the Rings of Power, the rise of the Dark Lord Sauron, the fall of the island kingdom of Numenor, and the last alliance between elves and men. These events take place over thousands of years in Tolkien's original stories, but are condensed for the series. That's the premise behind everything.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So these first two episodes came out on Friday. It's going to be 8 episodes total for the first season. I think
only 8. Oh, I thought it was 10.
No, just 8. According to this, the episode counts 8, and the last one is to air October 14th. So,
So we're getting 2 episodes a week.
that's
Amazon's, 6 weeks. That's 6 weeks.
The Amazon way they've been doing it, it's 2 episodes every Friday. They did that with The Boys. They did that with Mrs. Maisel.
I don't think they did that. I think they started off with, like, I know The Boys was 3 episodes to start the season and then 1 episode a week, but it only lasted 6 weeks long because that's how many episodes there were.
Oh.
And I don't believe Miss Maisel did that either.
No, Mrs. Maisel was 2 episodes every week because it was only a 4-week season. 8 weeks, 8 episodes, 4 weeks. I think is how it was.
I'm double checking that because I don't remember it like that. But
I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Let's see. Come on, Wikipedia. Do I have to type in the whole thing for you to be like, oh, you want Marvelous Miss Maisel? There it is. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you do.
Jeez Louise. Let's see here. Episode list, please. Can I have the episode list? So episode 1 was of season 4 was February 17, February 25th, March 4th. Now you're right about that. But I know The Boys was 1 every week. That one I'm 100% sure of.
Yeah, but they dropped 3 and then it was 1 after that each week.
Yeah.
So anyway, Rings of Power.
Yeah.
So I've got a synopsis up, the episode write-up. Hopefully it's not, when we watched Halo, that was a shitty write-up on every one of those episodes. Out of order, disjointed. Hopefully this is not so much.
It was written by somebody who was a fan of the fucking video games and was spoiling shit.
That's for sure. So
we're not even sure if Halo will do that, but yeah, Lord of the Rings. It's good so far. There's multiple stories going on.
Yeah, we're getting storylines from elven points of view. We're getting storylines from human points of view. We're getting storylines from Harfoot points of view, which are essentially halflings, hobbits.
Yeah, I was going to say they become hobbits, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think Harfoots exist in the Lord of the Rings books.
Yeah. And, we see some dwarves in the second episode. But the write-up in the first episode here, it starts out talking about the Dark Lord Morgoth and his rise to power and the destruction of the undying lands of Valinor, the home of the elves, and how the elves sailed from Valinor to Middle Earth to combat Morgoth, and Morgoth's eventually defeated, but Galadriel's older brother Finrod he's died in the search for Morgoth's servant Sauron. So Galadriel swears that she'll continue the search and spends centuries, because, elves are immortal, unless they're killed, but they don't die of old age, is the point. She spends centuries on the search for Sauron, and finds an abandoned fortress in the northern wastelands of Forodwaith, which yeah. I almost read it as Frodo Wraith, but it's Forodwaith, which bears Sauron's mark, which was the last time she had seen it. It was left upon her brother's body. Her companions insist they return to the elven capital of Lindon, where the High King Gil-galad proclaims the war against Morgoth's forces to be over. He grants Galadriel and her company the honor of sailing home to Valinor, where they can live an eternal life at peace. In the southlands of Middle-earth, elves watch over men descended from the allies of Morgoth. To the disapproval of the others, the elf Arondir has developed a close relationship with the human healer Bronwyn. Together, they discover that the village of Hordern has been destroyed, while Bronwyn's son Theo finds a broken sword bearing Sauron's mark. Near Valinor, Galadriel chooses to turn back and continue the search for Sauron, jumping from the ship into the sundering seas. Now, at this same time, two curious Harfoots, Nori Brandyfoot and Poppy Proudfellow, discover a strange man inside a meteor crater. So that was essentially episode 1. You know, a lot of introduction and start putting the pieces into place.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is called, well, episode 1 was called A Shadow of the Past. Episode 2 is called Adrift. So I'm going to go ahead and read that synopsis, and then we'll just give our thoughts on everything.
Yep, go ahead.
So, swimming back to Middle-earth, Galadriel comes across a series of rafts that have been tied together with human survivors of a shipwreck. They're attacked by a sea creature, and only one survives, Halbrand of the Southlands, who explains that he is fleeing from orcs. He and Galadriel work together to survive a storm. Nori and Poppy keep the stranger's secret from the other Harfoots and give him food and shelter. He doesn't speak their language, but uses fireflies and apparent magic to indicate he is searching for a constellation of stars that Nori doesn't recognize. Arondir investigates tunnels beneath Hordern and is captured. Bronwyn returns to her own village, Tirharad, where an orc attacks her and her son Theo. They kill the orc and use its head as proof of danger to convince the rest of the town to leave. Gil-galad sends the half-elf Elrond to assist the great elven smith Celebrimbor. Was it Celebrimbor?
It's
Is it Celebrimbor or Celebrimbor?
No, it's Celebrimbor, because I remember it's almost like celebration, and then you change it. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. My brain was like, "Oh, the connection."
Anyway, he's planning to build a powerful new forge. Elrond suggests that they seek help from the dwarves, and they go to his friend Prince Durin IV in Khazad-dûm. Durin is angry that Elrond's not visited in 20 years, but his wife Disa convinces him to hear Elrond's proposal. So that's not the exact order of things, but that's pretty much the rundown of everything that happened.
Yeah.
I know the episode actually ends, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the episode ended with Galadriel and Halbrand passed out on that raft, and somebody on a ship overlooking them. I think that's how it ended. I think. I'm not 100% certain, but so a lot's going on. It's a very busy show. We've got at least 4 storylines going on.
Yeah.
4 threads, and you know, the runtime of the first episode was 64 minutes, and the second episode was like 68 minutes. Now, that's with credits, granted. But yeah, there's a lot going on.
A ton going on. I really, really enjoy the Harfoots. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to see what hobbits were before they were hobbits, and you can see how they build their huts and whatnot that are similar to hobbit hovels.
Yeah, hobbit holes. Yeah,
yeah, they're shaped very similarly. Like, I'm interested to see how that goes. Also, are we under the assumption that the the man that fell in the asteroid is a wizard?
I think it's Gandalf.
See, that's
Some people think it's Gandalf. There are some people that don't think it's Gandalf. There are some people that don't think it's a wizard at all. But I've seen arguments that it's not one of the wizards because the wizards didn't come until into the third age, and this is the second age. But here's the thing. The show doesn't have the rights to the Silmarillion.
right.
So they're probably going to tweak continuity here and there to fit the narrative of the show. I think it's Gandalf.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's either Gandalf or it's what's the fucking...
Saruman?
Not Saruman, no. Radagast.
Oh.
Because if you remember, Radagast was like his like what he enjoyed when he was a wizard was nature.
Mm-hmm.
Was animals and young, or not young, but small creatures. Like, yes, Gandalf became a big fan of the hobbits, but Radagast like loved nature and that whole aspect. So I think it's Radagast. But,
and we could both be wrong in our theories, but hey, it was a pretty cool sight to see nonetheless.
Oh yeah, it was dope. I was like, that's how they fucking came to Middle Earth. That's awesome. I mean, given that it is a wizard.
Yeah.
We don't genuinely know, but
well, I've never read the Silmarillion. I've never finished the Lord of the Rings book. I read about 3/4 of the way into it and gave up because it just bored the ever-loving shit out of me.
It's a rough read. It's a really rough read.
Yeah, it is. The Hobbit's a lot of fun.
Hobbit's great.
It's also only 300 pages.
That too, yeah. I was gonna say the Hobbit's the only thing I've ever read. I never read the Lord of the Rings books because, well, I like my sanity. Because that's the thing about those books, and I've talked to people who have read them. They are very, very heavy-handed in the like the description department.
Yes. I shit you not, Greg. There are sections in that book where he devotes 7 or 8 pages to a song in Elvish.
Oh yeah.
About limbus bread.
Yep.
But
there's an entire chapter that describes the forest that the Ents live in the 2 towers.
But in the 2 towers, the Battle of Helm's Deep covers 3 fucking pages.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Tolkien, I didn't care for his writing style. I'm not saying he's a bad author. By far, I'm not saying that at all.
It's the same thing with Stephen King and me.
It's just that his style, I didn't care for it. He is overly descriptive. And when it came to action scenes, like what's going on in this battle, it's very, well, this happened, and then it was over. The end.
Yeah.
Here's a song. Here's a poem.
Yeah.
This is how the flowers smelt and how the dew felt and the grass swayed and this and that. And I was like, okay, we're back to this shit again. Don't get me wrong. The movies, I enjoy the movies. I'm glad the movies are there. The actual book, can take it or leave it. I can leave it. But yeah, I never read the Silmarillion. That's what I was saying. But
they don't even access the Silmarillion.
Yeah, I did look up a couple of things, and like originally the wizards came to Valinor before they came to Middle Earth.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's why people say it's not a wizard. Well, what the fuck would it be then?
It's a fucking wizard. Probably fucking Gandalf.
Yeah, I mean, it's we spend a lot of fucking time with Galadriel and Elrond, so which, by the way, love the dwarves. Fucking love the dwarves.
Yes,
God, that show
absolutely.
was so much fun. It was like the Harfoots and the dwarfs were by far my favorite. Whenever an elf is on screen, I'm like, oh, yawn. Fucking
Yeah.
yawn.
And a lot of Twitter, apparently, when the elf is on the screen, they're fucking angry. Jesus Christ, you racist fucks.
Oh. I thought you were talking about the dwarf that's a black woman. I was like, I saw a lot of that.
Oh no, they're pissed. They're pissed that elves. They were pissed that there were black elves. They're pissed that there were black dwarves. They're pissed that there were black Harfoots. They were pissed that there were black.
You can't see it, but I'm rolling my eyes.
Yeah. I'm just like, people. It's 2022. Just because some asshole made it okay to voice his fucking terrible thoughts doesn't mean that you should either. Fuck off with your bullshit. Get over yourselves.
Also,
diversity, it's a fictional setting. It can be as diverse as possibly it can be. I mean, there's not just one race of sentient beings in the fucking show and in the fucking books. There are elves, men, dwarves, halflings, orcs, and guess what? They all look different. We got humans. Guess what? We all look different. Get over your fucking selves. Oh my God, it kills me.
We're not going to change their minds. This podcast isn't going to change their minds.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So what I will say is leave. Don't watch. We don't want you here. We, as a fan of fantasy and sci-fi and superheroes and fictional stuff, we don't want you here. We don't want any racists here. We don't want any sexists here. Go away. Go do something else. Like, you're not welcome. You're just not.
Yeah. Go fuck yourselves.
So, that being said, I can't remember the elf's name that was friends with Elrond. I'm drawing a fucking blank as usual. But his wife was awesome.
The elf? You mean the dwarf?
The dwarf, sorry. The dwarf.
Yeah, that was Prince Durin.
Durin. Yeah, Durin. Durin's awesome. And then his wife was just even better. She's just like, stop being an asshole. You know they live forever. Like, of course he forgot shit because he like 20 years the blink of an eye. He's here now. Quit being an ass.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That was fantastic. That being said, I'm excited for next week because I'm pretty sure that Elrond's going to convince Durin to go with him.
Well, absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, those drawings that Celebrimbor had, I mean, that looks like the Tower of fucking Mordor, did it not?
It did. It really did.
And Misty was watching a video this morning because we didn't watch the episodes until last night because I'd been so busy over the weekend and then throughout the first part of the week. We didn't get to watch them until last night because I wanted to watch them with her because she's always been a big fan of the books and, you know, the movies. So naturally I waited for her to be off work so we could watch them. And she was watching some things this morning. And one video she was watching, the guy pointed out that the village of Hordern, the one that's destroyed when Bronwyn and Arondir come upon it.
Yeah.
That place in the Southlands is basically what Mordor becomes. That's the beginning of Mordor.
Ah, okay.
So.
Well, let's go ahead and give our final thoughts and move on because time is fleeting. I'm gonna give the first 2 episodes a solid A. I really enjoyed them. I mean, outside of the like elven location being kind of boring, the rest of the show was really entertaining. And I don't find Galadriel and Elrond boring. I just found like them being in the Elvish world or land or whatever to be like their conversations are just the worst. So yeah.
No, I definitely give both episodes an A. You know, it's beautifully shot. The effects are great. You know, we also see a succinct answer as to why the Eagles just didn't fly the ring over the fucking Mountain Doom and drop the fucking ring in the volcano. Oh shit, their feathers catch fire and they fall to the ground and die.
Yep.
I mean, shit. Shut the fuck up about the Eagles, people.
Well, even then, like people talked about that because they're like, well, they picked them up when there was lava there, and it's like the whole point, the entire point of them going on foot was to stay under the radar, and that still barely worked.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, beautifully shot, incredibly well acted. The score is fantastic. Cinematography is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm just really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to more, because while I don't have the fountain of knowledge of all the history, I still have the wealth of knowledge from the movies and, reading at least The Hobbit and most of the Lord of the Rings actual book. I'm not letting it taint what I'm expecting out of this series. I'm accepting this series for what it is and what is to come, with basically it's a blank slate. Don't have expectations. Things are going to be different. Liberties are going to be taken. It's okay.
It's first and foremost, it's not a sequel to the books. It's a sequel to the movies. And if you know the books and you know the movies, you know that the movies are drastically fucking different because you have to move the story forward in a faster fashion. Like certain things that happen in the book take weeks to happen between events. Like you remember when the I think it was the ring wraith. The fuck did they call it? The ring wraith? Yeah, it stabs Frodo in the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
He has a chunk of ring wraith sword in his shoulder for 17 days before it's fixed in the book. In the movie, it was like overnight.
Yeah. It took a couple of weeks for him to get to Rivendell. Here's an even better example. In the very beginning of the movie, when Gandalf tells Frodo that Bilbo's gone and left him his ring, he says, keep it secret, keep it safe. Don't let anybody know you have it. He says, I've got to leave. And he's like, you only just got here. I'll be back. When he and Gandalf, when Frodo actually leaves with the ring to go on the quest and they find Gandalf, 17 years had passed.
Yeah.
Frodo was 33 when when the first part of the happened. On Bilbo's 111th birthday, Frodo was 33.
Yep.
Frodo was 50 when he set out on the quest, and he was 51 when it ended.
Yep.
So, yeah, they have to advance that shit.
That's why I say very, very strongly, I tell people all the time, this is not a sequel to the books, this is a sequel to the movies. And that is a very strong distinction there.
Well, prequel.
Sorry, prequel to the books.
Yeah. Anyway, it's good shit.
Yeah.
Give it a chance. Give it a chance. Don't be a hater.
I'm liking it so far. We'll see how it goes though. I mean, it could still, turn out to be shit, so but we don't know. We don't know shit. So anyway. Our next show that we're going to talk about is House of Dragon, another high fantasy show. Yeah. Another prequel to a high fantasy franchise. But yeah, so if you have a synopsis, go ahead and...
I do. Episode 3 is titled Second of His Name. And we see that it's called that pretty early on because it's using yet another 2-year time jump. So essentially, the first 3 episodes, they take place over the course of 3 years. It starts out here. It says, for 3 years, the conflicts in the Stepstones region have escalated. Lord Corlys and Prince Daemon battle Kraghas Drahar and his pirates without support from the crown, which remains neutral regarding the Southern Realm situation. Meanwhile, King Viserys plans a great hunt to celebrate his and his pregnant Queen Alicent's son Aegon's second birthday. So he is named after the first Aegon.
So we've jumped ahead roughly a year?
No, 2
right?
years.
2 years.
Because over 2 years, actually. It's more like 2.5 since he announced his marriage. But they say 2 years in the show, but it's the boy's second birthday.
Okay, I missed the time, like when the time jumped. I know that it did because obviously she's pregnant, and
she's probably another 8 months pregnant too on top of that. So that's why I'm saying it's probably closer to 2.5 years, almost 3.
Yeah, I got you.
Because if he's 2 years old and she is that many months pregnant, and she had to carry for, well, I'm sure the gestation period's probably 9 months for a human in the show. I'm assuming.
I don't think anything's that different with almost the Lord of the Rings with Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But yeah, Rhaenyra resents the attention that her father continually heaps upon Aegon. Their relationship is further strained by the ailing king's insistence that Rhaenyra marry to form a strong alliance and protect their lineage. Did you notice that he's missing 2 of his fingers now?
Yeah. Yep.
Rotted ass fingers. Among many suitors, Lord Jason Lannister of Casterly Rock seeks to wed Rhaenyra, though she refuses. Lord Strong recommends that Rhaenyra wed Sir Laenor Velaryon, Lord Corlys' son, to repair the rift between their 2 houses. On his brother Hobart's advice, Otto urges Alicent to persuade his daughter to persuade the king to name Aegon as heir, furthering the Hightower's power and prestige. Viserys assures Rhaenyra she will always remain the heir and can choose who to marry. After Corlys' nephew sends a plea for help, Viserys relents and sends aid to the Stepstones. Seeing the arrival of his brother's aid as the end of his opportunity to prove himself, Daemon uses himself as bait to ambush and slaughter the Triarchy, killing the crab feeder in the ensuing battle. First off, if that's what a royal hunt was fucking like, fuck their hunts. That's not a hunt.
So that's... I know you know this, so I'm just going to reiterate it. So the whole Game of Thrones story that George R.R. Martin wrote is based off of the War of the Roses. And if you go with the history of monarchies at that time, that's what a royal hunt was. That's what they did. It was.
So they actually had a team to go out and capture whatever was being hunted, and then tie it up and say, "Here, King, slay this beast. There it is for you.
Yep,
all served up. Oh, the glory and honor to you for slaying that mighty beast." You want to hit it?
Yeah, because everything was by divine
divine will.
Yeah, like divine motion. That was actually something I really enjoyed about this episode, was that the king is he hates it. He hates being the king. He hates the politics behind it. It's driving him fucking nuts. But that's the reality of that historical significance. And I say historical significance knowing this is complete fantasy, but that's the inspiration for the show. So you have to kind of take that with it. And with that knowledge, that's what I really enjoyed. But like, when Rhaenyra was like fighting it, she's like, I'm not gonna fucking marry a Lannister. Like fuck that noise. I want to marry who I love. And he's like, this is the politics.
To her, she doesn't want to marry at all. Period.
Oh well, yeah. It's just that's what I mean. That's for me. That's what I really enjoyed about this episode was the, I don't want to say accuracy of the situation, but it was definitely cool to kind of to see that. It was cool to have that angle on the whole situation. I don't know. Like I enjoy, what I like about Game of Thrones is the politics of the time. I enjoy the politics. the politics really drive Game of Thrones, any of the Game of Thrones seasons forward, right? Sure, you have, sneaky shit behind the scenes and whatnot, which we kind of have that, but it's not really that. Like, they know what Damon's doing. They're just letting him be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's what I'm enjoying about this show. And then we got that fucking amazing battle at the end. Holy shit.
That was cool. That was cool. I wish, though, we could have seen the actual showdown between Damon and the crab feeder, though, instead of just seeing him drag out the upper torso of the crab feeder by his arms and dragging his fucking intestines along there.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like also that situation was a less is more,
Yeah. I would have liked to at least seen some of the confrontation. Like, we're introduced to this menacing villain, and we get nothing, not a word uttered from the guy. Didn't even get to see him fight.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of his troops fight. I was like, give me something. Throw me a freaking bone here.
Well, this episode falls in line with what I read earlier this week. And I messaged you about it, but like 5 of the main cast will no longer be a part of the show after episode 5. And I was like, that's so weird. What is the reason? And then it dawned on me. I was like, oh, time jump shit, because that's what we've been dealing with.
Time jump ship. So, do you have a theory of who the 5 will be for you?
Most of the younger cast will be replaced by an older person that looks like them.
Yeah.
And I feel like the King Viserys. Viserys. I think he'll be replaced by an actor that looks older. Like,
I don't know, man. I got the feeling that they were foreshadowing his death.
They could be. They absolutely could be. But
there were times in that episode where I felt he's gonna die soon.
I heard the name Aegon, by the way, and I was like, and then I had to look it up. I was like, oh, it's not that Aegon. That Aegon's way later.
Well, this is the second of his name, so he's not that Aegon.
No, it's like the 5th Aegon or some shit like that, 5th or 6th. But no, I'm digging it. I'm digging the show. I really enjoy it. It's been fun so far. I'm gonna speed this podcast a little further along because time is fleeting, as I said.
Yeah,
I gotta do.
Greg has errands he has to take care of in 1 hour exactly. So
no, less than that. I gotta be ready by 2. Yeah, I gotta be.
I thought you had to be ready at 2:30.
No, she said she'd be here between 2:10 and 2:30.
Oh, okay.
That's the other reason it has to be quick. Is like if it was just me running the errands, I wouldn't care. But I'm relying on somebody else. So
yeah. So you got 40 minutes to. So yeah, I give this episode an A. It was really fucking good. And there's shit that happened, and of course we didn't even bring up, like when fucking Rhaenyra was upset and left the hunt, and Sir, what's his name, Sir Kristen, Sir Kristen chases her down, and she brings back that big boar that she killed and all that.
I was like, God damn.
Yeah. Fun episode, good episode, solid episode. Really enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, no, it's a solid A. I think my only gripe with the episode, if even you can call it a gripe, is it really, really, really needs to kind of, I don't know if it needs to tell us that it's a time hop or if it needs to give us a clearer idea, because it wasn't until I saw the Queen 8 months pregnant that I was like, oh, where we've jumped in time. That's when I noticed. Like the opening shot or the scene with the King talking to his the right or the King hand, right hand.
Yeah, the King's hand.
The King's hand, yeah. And they're having that conversation, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about exactly, because I just didn't know. And that kind of stuff bothers me in a show. Like, give us a little preamble. Just a tad, just a little bit. But I like the time hops. Just give me a notification. Just be like, hey, here's what we're doing. But everything else was so fucking solid in the episode. The character growth is fun with time hops too, because they've gone through quite a bit in 2 years. And you get to see that without having experienced it. But they're doing it in a very clever way. I don't know. I'm having fun. Like, Rhaenyra's pissed off at what was her best friend, who's now fucking her dad.
Yeah, who's now her stepmom and can command her and has power over her, and
yeah,
that would be a difficult thing to deal with, especially as a teenager.
Exactly. So there's a lot of aspects of the show that are super fucking fun, and I'm excited to keep it going. So, all right, well, on to the last show, She-Hulk, episode 4.
Yeah. Is this not real magic? Is the episode title, and boy, was this episode fun.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
So it opens up with a magician, Donnie Blaze, who was we find out ultimately he was expelled from Kamar Taj for unethical use of his powers, like a week into his mystical arts training. He uses the mystical arts to send an audience member named Madison with a Y and 2 N's, and the Y is not where you think, to another dimension, where she makes a deal with a demon named Jake before being transported to Wong's home in Kamar Taj. Wong approaches Walters. He approaches She-Hulk because she's at work. She was She-Hulk. He approaches Jan and asks her for help in making an example of Blaze so that people like him will not be able to misuse the mystic arts. So they launch a legal case against him. Meanwhile, Jen creates a profile on the dating app in the hopes of expanding her social life, but has little success until she changes it into a profile for She-Hulk. Blaze accidentally unleashes a swarm of demons at one of his shows, but Wong and She-Hulk are able to deal with the creatures, and She-Hulk threatens Blaze into complying with her cease and desist order. The next day, Jen learns that Titania has been freed and is filing a lawsuit against her, having trademarked the name She-Hulk. So, yeah, getting to see her go on dates as She-Hulk was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, because they did a good job at showing what dates like as just Jen was versus She-Hulk. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we had a lot more fourth wall breaks in this episode than we have yet.
Absolutely.
Not complaining, just noticed that I was like, wow, there's another one, and there's another one. But like what I love about it is that it never feels forced. None of the fourth wall breaks feel like they're trying too hard. They're just naturally, or they feel natural, I should say. And
yeah.
I don't know. I absolutely love this show. I think that a lot of the interactions that Jen has with just about anybody are funny. We've seen Wong this is his 9th appearance in the MCU. 8th appearance, sorry. I keep saying 9th because this is his 2nd episode of She-Hulk, so 9 total if you count episodes, but this is one thing. So this is his 8th appearance in the MCU. And in Doctor Strange, not that funny. In Infinity War Endgame, pretty funny. In what was he in after that?
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Was he in Far From Home?
Or is it No Way Home? No Way Home.
Oh, Shang-Chi. That's where we saw him next. That's what I was trying to blank, because then it was Far From Home. And then it was Doctor Strange and now She-Hulk. I feel like I'm missing one. Doesn't matter. Regardless, we've progressively gotten to know Wong more and more without him having his own, series.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. It gets funnier and funnier and funnier. And like him interacting with Madison is absolutely hilarious.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm like, I doubt that we'll see Wong again in like episodes coming up. I think he's done for the time being. So I'm glad we got some time with him in 2 episodes. I don't know. I really fucking like how funny the show is. It should be. That's the comic was funny. That's what drew me to it. Sensational She-Hulk, to be very specific. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like, there's great jokes that, like, when she calls Wong Twitter armor,
that was fucking hilarious.
So it's so brilliant. Because they wrote that joke months ago. Like, arguably over, like, 2 years ago, writing the show before even filming it. They knew what kind of audience they were going to get with the show, or the response, I should say.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the fact to have that preamble there is so, oh my God, like, I was like, it's genius. The other one that really made me laugh was actually the last joke of like, well, that's a bummer to end the episode on. I'm sure what they call it. There's a name that they gave it that she says.
Yeah.
The tag. I'm sure the tag is funny.
And it was.
Yeah, it was hilarious, yeah. The fact also that she kept spoiling Sopranos was killing me. That was so fucking funny. I saw somebody on Twitter pissed off about that. Well, if you haven't seen Sopranos, don't watch the new She-Hulk. They spoil Sopranos like 3 times. I know the show's old, but I'm like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the standard moratorium for a spoiler for anything, generally give it 2 weeks before you start spoiling. After that, it's fair fucking game. We do shit, though, that week, so because, hey, we're assholes like that.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm absolutely adoring the show. This episode was what I wanted more. Like, we got the She-Hulk that I read from the fucking comics. This is what I tried to tell everybody of the kind of She-Hulk that I knew. And like, people are mad that she had sex as She-Hulk, and I'm like, oh my God, y'all.
Y'all have never read the comics.
Pick up
the comic book. Yeah. I mean, she gets around. She's she's promiscuous. And guess what? That's totally fucking okay for anybody to be that way. Just be safe. Yeah. And, because sex is fucking fun. Spoiler alert, all you fucking prudes. It's fucking fun.
Well, it kills me that people are like, well, she never twerked in the comic. And I'm like, she didn't, because twerking wasn't a fucking thing at the time.
No, but she did jump rope naked.
Against her, well, sort of against her will. The joke there was that writers can do whatever they want with the characters. And so her as the character breaking the fourth wall was like, this is demeaning. That was the joke. Yeah. But more to a point is that she was kicked out of the Avengers for having massive parties, sometimes more than once a week. And I remember there's a conversation between Tony and Steve complaining that she might destroy the Avengers Tower because or mansion, I guess I should say. Or was the tower at the time? It doesn't matter. She was going to destroy the Avengers complex because she was having these big ass parties.
Yeah.
Like, Jen is that's what makes her such an interesting character as a Hulk, is that originally in the comics she couldn't turn the Hulk off. She was permanently a Hulk. But in the newer issues she can go back and forth. And they're borrowing from the not Steve Byrne. What the fuck's his first name? Sam Byrne?
What?
Anyway, they're borrowing from that, and that a lot of that is the parts of Jen that's like, an issue was her just exercising. An issue, like, she's just jogging through a park. As She-Hulk, obviously. You're
talking about the John Byrne.
John Byrne, thank you. Jesus. I was like, but that's the point I'm getting at. That's what I'm trying to say, is that the comics were always like,
I mean, he would even have her call him out by name on the panel. She's like, "Are you kidding me right now, Byrne?"
Yeah. Yep. But that's the
Which was
point.
fucking hilarious.
Oh God, just people. Sorry, yawning a little bit. Ugh. People drive me nuts with this show because they're just like, the MCU is in shambles, and I'm like, we haven't had a really bad MCU show. Sure, we've had like maybe not that great, mediocre, but nothing awful. And people just, they're such a loud minority. It drives me bonkers. The thing that kills me the most about She-Hulk is that they act like it's not comic book accurate, and I'm like, to what comic have you read that this isn't accurate?
Yeah, and here's the thing: out of everything we've been given, this is the most comic book accurate out of
It really
anything.
It really, really is. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna give this episode an A+. I thoroughly fucking enjoyed it. It's exactly what I want out of a She-Hulk show. It's funny. You got some lawyer stuff in there. It's not heavy-handed on the lawyer angle, but neither was the comics. And like you did have some, like 4-issue stories where it had to do with a court case. Like my personal favorite one is the one with old man Steve Rogers and Daredevil. But like, I don't know. I fucking love it. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much. I also give this episode an A+. I thought it was fucking stellar. I thought it was the strongest episode we've had yet. And I think that each episode has been strong, but this one was extremely enjoyable. I enjoyed it a whole lot. Just the right mix of humor, the right mix of action, the right mix of character development, and that's hard to do in just over 30 minutes. But it was done, and it was done splendidly. But yeah.
So damn, it was solid fucking week for reviews. Jesus Christ. Where are my notes? I put my notes away, so that's why I can't pull it out. So yeah, next week we're just going to continue down the line. It's going to be the next episode of She-Hulk, the next episode of Lord of the Rings, which I did look up, by the way, and it's one a week after.
It is?
Yep. And House of Dragon as well. Just to clarify, that's She-Hulk episode 5, House of Dragon episode 4, and Rings of Power episode 3. And we'll be doing those 3 until one of them ends, and then we'll be doing the other 2 until one of them ends, yada yada, so on and so forth.
Probably until Andor starts at the end of the month. Doesn't Andor start the end of this month?
Andor starts after She-Hulk ends, so
that's probably what'll happen.
Yeah. And I know we're both looking forward to Andor, so yeah, keep up with those shows. So you keep up with us. We're not adding anything, just FYI.
But follow us on the socials anyway.
I was like, but yeah, follow us on the socials listed below. I got nothing. Like, that's where we would add something if we were going to add something. But I promise you, with 3 shows to review, we really don't want this podcast to last 2 fucking hours, which it has before, but still. So yeah, that's that. Check out the Teespring store. That's where you'll find all our merch, like t-shirts and coffee mugs and pint glasses. There's a pint glass on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did have that on my notes. I was like, I thought so. Or just even a sticker. All the proceeds help out with the podcast if we need supplies with the host costs for the website, all that kind of stuff. So go buy something. And if you do, let us know on social media. We'll give you a little, retweet or a share. We'll give you a big old thank you. If you're looking for the video podcast, we do have a YouTube channel, which you're more than welcome to follow. This week, it's just our faces. You can't really see us.
Yeah, both of us were off camera this week, but
Maya's never on camera, so.
Well, I was there for a bit, and then it's just like, I getting ready and everything, making myself look good. It's work. It's work.
Sure, I get that. I mean, I was gonna make an awful joke. I was about to say, well, you chose this life, but that's not how that works.
It's pretty fucking funny though.
Also, guys, if you're looking for new podcasts or different podcasts to listen to, check out the Nerdvana Network. There's a bunch of shows over there that are listed with different topics, different people, different personalities. But it's all good. It's all really good. So that's the Nerdvana Network, which you can find the link down below. That's it for my notes. Maya, where can folks find you?
Also, if anybody out there is going to get angry, don't get angry. Greg can make that joke. Greg's known me long enough. He knows what kind of jokes he can make.
I made a joke a while back where I don't remember what we were talking about exactly, but we had to move something or we had to do something where I needed a bunch of dudes because it was heavy. And you said in text, do you know like 5 guys or do you know 6 guys that can help? I was like, well, I knew 2, but then you guys decided to become women or something down the line. But you thought that joke was working out.
Yeah, you said, well, I did know 2 that could help, but 2 of them are women now.
Yeah.
And you know, our friend Mark, we're doing a fantasy football draft last year. And I was like talking shit during our draft because we had a chat going on in it. And I was like, I just can't wait to take all y'all's money at the end of the fucking season. And Mark's like, look at the dick on this chick.
Yeah.
Which was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
My friends can make jokes. I don't get bent out of shape about that. But anyway, where you can find me is you can find me on Facebook under the name Maya Dawn Fisher. That's, you know, if you search that name, you're probably going to find me on anything and everything because, you know, I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok. Haven't been very active on that, but, you know, I'm there. And, yeah, you know, my Facebook page is public profile. Can't talk.
That's all, folks.
Yeah, you find me there. You'll find me anywhere. What about you, Greg? Where can people find you?
You can find me on all social medias under Chub Rock Geek. You can also find me doing a thing with my brother. He hosts an hour-long segment on a I don't know if it's a 24-hour radio station, but it is a broadcast station that also has its entire broadcast section over the internet. His show is every Sunday at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it should be midnight for you guys. But it's the website you can go to is kutzfm.org. That's Cuts
FM.
Cuts FM. And but yeah, the segment that he wanted to do this week was all Weird Al songs. So he contacted me as a big Weird Al fan. But he didn't want to just get my list of Weird Al songs. He wanted me on the show itself. So we kind of did the in-between giant chunks of songs. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
I enjoyed it. But yeah, that you can listen to that this Sunday at 9 p.m. on kutzfm.org. But other than that, I got nothing else. Guys, again, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you here. Don't forget, next week is more House of Dragon, more She-Hulk, and more Rings of Power. Very excited for all these shows. But yeah, thank you again. Thank you. Always remember, fuck the GOP, fuck the NRA. Donate and help where you can, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.